are an experimental factory, so all our activity is an experiment. If you ask why, in which way we can be also economically successful, it is a little bit complicated to explain, but it has a lot to do with these skills of design management. I mean, it is true that we experiment every day. There is nothing anymore to invent in terms of functionality. On the other side, there is a lot to explore about the imaginary of people, about the aesthetics. Functionality is, of course, very important. If you talk about a pot, or a coffee maker, or even a wine cooler, of course it must work. Now, there was only one example of an object where the form was perfectly matching with the function, and it was the egg. But then he was saying, first, it is not a human being creation, but a chicken one, and second, it is actually made with the ass. When I say that Alessi is a design lab, or better, a research lab in design, I mean that our real role is to be mediators. We continuously mediate between the best expressions of creativity, I mean the best designers through all the world. We mediate these designers with final customers, final people dreams. This activity of mediation means that first we are developing projects with hundreds of designers, and second that we develop an enormous quantity of new projects. That is true. Then we test the projects, we try to understand what kind of life they can have, and I decide whether it makes sense to continue to produce, to put on the society, on the market, or not. When I improved year after year our skills of design management in a way that no other companies around the world outside Italy are able to manage. This is why if you are looking for the best Spanish design, I mean the best, you are obliged to open the catalog of an Italian design factory, not necessarily Alessi, I mean. The destiny of an Italian design company like Alessi is to work very close to a borderline. A borderline which divides two areas, two opposite areas in a way, the area of possible and the area of not possible. The area of possible being represented by new projects that people, final customer, will be ready to understand, to wish, to love, to accept, and then to buy. And on the other side, the area of not possible being represented by new ideas that people is not ready to understand. The problem is that this borderline is not clearly marked, and you cannot see with your eyes. And by sure, you cannot understand with the marketing research. You can only feel where it is, more or less, with qualities that, by the way, are more and more rare in industrial culture and in industrial practice. I mean intuition, sensibility, and the acceptance to work in a risky area, to take risk, the wish to take risk. Having understood that, what a real serious mass production company like a car producer does, they try to work as far as possible from the borderline. Very clear, isn't it? But step by step, they are all producing the same car all over the world, or the same TV set, or the same fridge. Instead, the practice of an Italian design company is the opposite. By definition, we have to work very close to the borderline. We know that it is very risky. It is enough to have a little balance on the other side to fall in a fiasco, but it is also the only way to produce a real innovation. The kind of innovation that we are offering is mainly an innovation in terms of aesthetics, not an innovation in terms of technique. To the history of Italian design. Until all 70s, Italian design was characterized by two elements, fundamental elements, to be produced in Italy and to be designed by an Italian designer or architect. Then during the 80s we had a big shift. At the end of the 80s, suddenly Italian design was only characterized by being produced in Italy, not anymore by Italian designers, since the majority of the authors in the Italian design factories catalogs were foreigners. And then now we are probably facing a new step, which will be that Italian designer will not even anymore be produced in Italy. So not conceived by an Italian designer and not anymore produced in Italy. But it will continue to represent the best in terms of design. What we do is, of course, to test the products, but we test just when the creative process is almost finished. Once I have the new prototype in my hands, then, yes, of course, I would like to understand which would be the reactions of my final customers on this specific new prototype, which has been freely created. A tool that we use for testing, which is called the formula of the success. Mainly it is based on 4 parameters. 2 parameters which are the classic, normal, industrially understandable parameters, which are function and price. And 2 other parameters which are at the end much more important in our experience, which are, one is called sensoriality, memory, and imaginary, meaning when people say, oh, what a beautiful object, trying to explore this. And the second is communication and language. It tries to explore, to measure the characteristic of an object to be used as a tool to communicate something to other people. We put all them together. At the end there is a result which says the number of pieces that we could sell every year. I was asking Philippe to design a tray. The briefing was a tray in stainless steel. I was thinking that I was sure that with his talent he could create a very simple tray, very simple to manufacture, but very strong in terms of shape, new innovation. And then I was discussing since for 2 years at least. He always was saying, yes, I will do it, but the intuition was not coming. So at the end, after 2 years, he sent me this object, which was his reaction to my demand, my request of a stainless steel tray, a squeezer in aluminum. Because this is another characteristic, very typical of an Italian design factory. We are very open to be shaped by our designers, because for us design is the central part of our activity. So I am always open to receive from a designer that I like his interpretation or her interpretation of Alessi.